He's gonna go to jail. They're gonna put him in jail. No, you're not going to jail, Hassan. You know you're not going to jail. Do you want to know the main reason why you're not going to jail? It's because you're rich. You're not going to jail. Your family's rich. You're fine. You're not going. Don't worry about it. Rich people don't go to jail. Poor people go to jail. You know this. You, of all people, know this. You know you're not going to jail.
This might actually cause me to go to jail, low-key, but high-key.
Low-key.
Genocidal slogans about the Jewish state.
Yeah.
They talk about intifada glowingly. They support Hamas, a genocidal terrorist
I might
group
literally
with American
be going to
blood
jail
on their hands. It is a fallacy to pretend, oh, we can't criticize the government of Israel. That is not the issue here.
Congratulations to all my haters, bro. You did it. All the liberals.
Constantly.
At least the nickname fits. Piker.
What does that mean?
Definitely a piker.
Putting people up. Oh, a pike. Oh, like a faker. Like somebody who's like a fraudster.
So, you know, Lauren,
Yeah.
I feel like there's been almost a theme here throughout.
With anti-Semitism.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's an old term, very old term, but you know, a long time ago. But anyway, so is Hassan going to go to jail? I think the probability, like, we all know what the, no, you're not going to jail. Just stop it. Stop it. You're not going to jail. Nothing's going to happen. Like, the worst that could happen to him is he could get suspended on Twitch. I mean, and to be fair, Hassan reiterates his support for Houthis. Here he is. Hey, look.
You'll need
You
a
said
top-notch
Ethan's words to make
team
him
to
seem
win this
pro-Zionist
one.
and that you should be more thoughtful, but when he
don't
pointed
have
out
to
that your
be a
language would
witch
come
to
off
find
as
the
supportive
magic
of
in this
terrorism,
world.
why not just
But it
admit that you're
does help.
careless sometimes too to his fans? It made you look
Well,
like
it's not that he's careless. That's what he believes.
you can't admit fault. I have no problem with the Houthis. Yeah, because I don't. What do you mean?
Yeah, okay, there it is.
If you think I'm a terrorism supporter for that reason, then yeah, I'm a fucking terrorism supporter. What are you talking?
Okay, well, there it is. That was fucking easy. Jesus, I was expecting this to be complicated. Okay, well, fuck. I feel like, yeah, that's about it. And we got to, yeah, dude, that's it. Yeah, he just admits it. All right, let him finish this. Okay, we'll watch the rest of it. Sure, why not? That's fair.
Talking about
30
the
seconds before you
Houthis
attack.
and their
Get ready.
militancy in the Red Sea is a perfectly moral action.
I need
What
you to
would you
promise me
do?
you'll
You
show
say
some
you
restraint
support
out
the
there, John.
Houthis. That doesn't mean that, like, number one,
Not at all.
kidnapping
But in most
civilian
realities,
ships
these are some of
full
our
of
closest
Filipinos
allies.
and holding them hostage, this is not a moral action. In no universe is this a
The battle
moral
starts in
action.
5,
If there was a
4,
genocide happening
3,
in your fucking
2,
backyard,
1.
that's it. And Ethan has no answer for
Help get
that.
that vehicle to its destination.
Neither do they. If their answer is kidnapping random Filipinos and then holding them hostage and then having sex slaves, I don't really think that's much of a fucking answer. That seems like a pretty bad answer to me.
I also said, yes, some people think I'm a terrorist supporter, and that's on them, and not me. You said Ethan's words make you pro-Zionist and that he should be more thoughtful, but when he pointed out that your language would come
Yeah,
off.
I mean, look, here's the thing. This is peace. It's crazy to me that, and I hope that this goes to show how absolutely, completely biased Twitch is that Hassan can come out and blatantly say that he supports terrorism. He supports a terrorist organization that allegedly keeps sex slaves, captures civilian ships, takes unrelated people from a country that have nothing to do with the conflict hostage for a year. You can say that you support that when in the terms of service, it is very clearly and very plainly stated that expressing material support for anything like that is explicitly bannable.
Now, a disappearance.
It is explicitly and statedly bannable. That's it. It is. It's unequivocally against the rules. So, Houthis attacked the airport in Israel today. I don't know if that happened or not. I have no idea. But yeah. And so anyway, I think that this is. And here's the problem, right? Is that I don't think he's going to walk this back. I don't think that they did. Well, let me see if that happened. Let's see here. Let's not be fooled. Houthi missiles strikes within the boundary of Ben Gurion Airport, resulting in a massive crater and shrapnel landing very close to the passenger drop terminal in 1. The sirens sent millions to central region to bomb shelters. Can I watch these videos here? I don't know if I can do that or not. Really nice angle of the Houthi missile striking Ben Gurion Airport. So is this let's go ahead and look this up. Let's look this up on, I mean, this is AI, right? Is Ben Gurion Airport
Time for some fireworks.
airport used by civilians? Yeah.
I want to make
It's their main international airport, and it's primarily used by civilians and commercial flights. Okay. So basically, we're supporting an organization that is lobbing missiles at a civilian commercial airport.
Next up, giant apple tree.
So this isn't a military base. This isn't like there's children there. Like, what are we doing? What's going on? What is this? This is unbelievable. Oh, wow. Insane impact of the footage right there. There's another one. There's obviously a bunch of people. Missile impact as well. Missiles impact next to an access road. The crater is measured over there. You see the busy area. And so ballistic missiles struck at Ben Gurion Airport, slipping past Israel's multi-layered air defenses. Yes, and Israel has like the Iron Dome, right? And so this is very clearly made. Like, you can ask yourself the question. Yeah.
this was another The vehicle reached a checkpoint. Keep up the momentum.
Yeah.
My work
I mean,
here is
I
not
feel the
done.
same way. It seems pretty bad. They'll say that's Israel's missile. Israel shot this missile to make the Houthis look bad. Of course they did. Obviously, right? Houthi missile strikes within the boundary of Ben Gurion Airport. Wow, look at all this. Israel will retaliate with force. There's a bunch of people over here too. Yeah, this is the group, by the way, that Hassan was advocating and said that they should get the Nobel Peace Prize. Houthis made an announcement later on that says the Tel Aviv airport is no longer safe, so it was not incidental. Really, I would have never guessed that. You know what that sounds a lot like? It sounds like terrorism to me. I find this to be very ironic that I didn't even know this was happening. So this was basically, he's expressing support for Houthis on the day that they are bombing a civilian airport. So they should get a Nobel Peace Prize.
Now, a disappearing act.
If I was expressing any degree of support of any group that is like the Proud Boys or any white supremacy, neo-Nazi adjacent group, in even 1/100th of the level of the support that Hassan gives for the Houthis and other terrorist organizations, I would have been immediately there. There is an obvious disconnect. This is obviously a person that's like promoting, like, again, yeah, you'd be cooked, and I would deserve that. I would deserve that because that's breaking the terms of service. And so that's it. Yeah, of course. We're so happy. What is it?
I want to make the
Houthis
same
show the
mistakes
limit
again.
of the Iron Dome. I'm gonna be honest.
This is the place to watch.
I've been pretty reasonable about this for a long time. I have been very reasonable about this for a very long period of time. But we have crossed into the threshold of, in plain English, supporting a terrorist organization that is actively attacking civilians. This is totally unreasonable. There's no justification for this. There's no way that this is okay. It's on video. I think that if Twitch doesn't do something about it, Amazon needs to find out that this is happening. This is a crazy level of extremism that should not be anywhere on the platform. And again, if Twitch wants to say that they care about free speech and they're going to let them say that, that's fine. But I want to be able to do a number of other things too myself. But if we have a rule set and the rule set says you can't do this, then is it a rule set? It's crazy that somebody like that is just actively supporting terrorists this way. It really is. But I guess that's the world that we're in now. So Germany has rightfully and officially declared the Elon Musk Nazi Party AfD an extremist threat and offering forces at any powers.
Politics in Germany, the far-right political party, the AfD,
They look like they need this.
as an extremist organization by the country's domestic
Why?
intelligence agency. The AfD made major gains in recent parliamentary elections, standing on a platform of opposing immigration. According
That's
to the
extremist, is to not want immigrants? I mean, because, like, I would understand. I mean, like, if, for example, like, they were bombing places, or they were violent, or, you know, they were talking about, like, you know, let's finish what Hitler started, or, like, some crazy shit. Like, yeah, of course, like, yeah, they are an extreme party, and this is, like, basically, again, a terrorist organization. But, like, if this is something bad that they're doing, let's find out why. It's not just that. Okay, well, let's see what the reasons are.
The AfD wants to exclude people from the democratic process based on their ancestry or ethnicity, and this is said incompatible with the German constitution. Heavy blow to democracy. Let's take now to Charles Pfeffer, political correspondent for German outlets RTL and NTV. Carl, thank you very much for joining us today. Tell us more about this. And, take us through what the intelligence agencies are saying, their reasoning for this decision.
Yes, thank you very much, and hello from Berlin. They are basically confirming a suspicion that they've been investigating for years now. So the AfD has been a case of suspicion of being extremist for years, and now they've compiled a paper of 1,100 pages that is saying we have it confirmed. We know that the AfD is not against, it is against basically the democratic principles of our constitution, specifically because it is trying to exclude entire groups, especially people with a migrational background and people who are of Muslim religion. So they have found proof, and that's not everything.
I would say that's pretty extreme. Yeah, that sounds pretty extreme, to be fair.
They've also found more and more proof and put it together into that paper, saying that the AfD is repeatedly using Nazi slogans.
Show the proof.
Fire mode.
Okay. All right. Very simple. If there is proof, I support it. If there's not proof, I don't support it. Right? Like, wouldn't every statement that a person makes on something being bad or good be implied that proof is provided?
This is your big chance.
Like, why would I say something if there's no proof for it? Like, we are operating under the presumption that proof exists.
The final 10
first.
seconds.
Now, that assumption could be wrong, but if the assumption is correct, I would say this is pretty extreme. It is. It's extreme.
Feeling stronger already. Let's keep fighting.
We're not allowed in Germany. They have been saying that we should change our way of remembering the Holocaust. So they've just put everything together that we've been seeing. And also many people have known for years. And you must also know that the AfD is already classified as extremist in 3 different states in Germany and former Eastern German states. So this is now...
Didn't the AfD, like, let me see, like, aren't they, like, one of the most popular parties? So AfD is blue, and...
This is gonna hurt.
I mean, that's a lot of people. And here's another one, it's 152 now. Germany's conservative celebrates an election event that AfD's historic gains loom. And if you look at this one's 2025, it shows the AfD at +10, which is higher. It's growing almost twice as fast. Besides FDP, I don't know what that is either. Oh, SD, yeah, this is also growing very fast. It is the fastest growing party. It's the second biggest party. Okay, that's a lot. Wow.
Basically confirming that that is the case not only for these...
I think this is like one of the problems of like it's like a democracy paradox, right? Where it's like if enough people get together and they democratically want to get rid of a democratic process, how do you deal with that? Like, and I don't know what the answer to that is at all, right? But like if the people want this, right? It's like, how do you deal with the people wanting something, even though the thing that they want would not be possible to want if they got what they wanted?
You'll need a
I don't know.
top-notch team to win
You need an
this
extreme
one.
majority? Yeah, I guess we'll find out in 4 years.
Find the magic in this world. But it does
Germany has it
help.
in the Constitution? Well, look, a Constitution these are all just bullshit, right? I mean, this is all, they change these rules, they ignore them whenever they want to. Nobody gives a shit about this. It's the same as the US. People care about it. No, I'm being honest. I'm being honest. It is a sheet of paper. It is a sheet of paper, and people will not make decisions that will overrule their material conditions because of a sheet of paper. We've done it many times here in the US.
To be afraid of my magic.
States, but for the entire German country.
Interesting comments from
30 seconds
Chancellor
before you
Olaf
attack.
Scholz. He's not
Get
Chancellor
ready.
for very much longer, of course, but he's saying the Domestic Intelligence Agency provides a very detailed justification, but ban proceedings must not be rushed. You know, what sort of discussion is there about a potential ban?
I think that there is a like a 100% chance that if they get classified as an extreme
The
right
battle
party,
starts in 5,
that it will
4,
only serve
3,
to embolden more people
2,
to support them.
1.
And I think that, like, in general, this is kind of what happened with Donald Trump. Like, I think that the amount of, like,
When will these
prosecution and everything that
madmen
Donald Trump
learn
went
that
through,
reality
justified or
is
unjustified,
Don't get that vehicle
definitely
to
served to
destination.
galvanize his viewer base and his fan base. Fan base. It's a fucking president, right? But, like, let's be honest here. It galvanized his fan base, his voter base, to be even that much more fervently in his support.
My work
Yeah,
here is
that's a
not
highly
done.
political discussion that has been going on for years, and especially in the last couple of months, it has also been discussed a lot. The last government, or the last Bundestag that was just re-elected, said that they tried to do it. They tried to get a majority. They failed. There were not enough members of parliament who were in favor of starting a ban. That's also a very long process.
You're not going anywhere.
And that's also a very long process. And the discussion is basically, how do we get that party smaller? That's what the other political parties wanted to reach. And
Now I
Is
see
the
them.
irony not lost that the goal is to make this party smaller and it is in the service of democracy? Like, because it's kind of funny to me to see.
Not going anywhere.
She said it. Yeah, if that's their goal, like, what are we doing here?
Hold still. I'm trying to help.
they are worried that if you try it with an actual ban, that whole process, that will take years. And throughout those years, the AFD will have the opportunity to claim that that's being caught, that they are actually the victims, that it's not transparent, that they're being surveyed by the state. So that will...
They are,
Vehicle
though, right?
reached a checkpoint. Keep up the momentum.
They are. Like, that's... It's, I mean, it's not like they're making this up. I mean, you could say that they deserve to be surveyed. You could say that, yeah, they are an extremist group, but, like, this is happening. It is happening.
Also be an opportunity for the AFD to maybe grow even further and mobilize.
Yeah, and the AFD, they are talking about legal action in response to this classification, aren't they?
Exactly. They are saying that they want to take legal actions. They've also tried that against that case of suspicion that has been going on for years. Last year, Court Münster confirmed that they are a case of suspicion. There is still some more legal action going on, and they will also now try to have legal actions against that classification, the confirmation of this classification, because I think that's important to understand that we've already been seeing that for years, and now basically a confirmation of what the Bundesamt für Verfassungsschutz, which is the institution that tries to make sure that the constitution is protected in Germany, has been seeing and surveying for years. So they will take legal actions. I don't know how much.
So they're they're basically gonna put this. They're gonna put these guys under surveillance.
Us against the world.
Oh my God!
The possibility of success there is, but obviously that delays things and the discussion.
I think that this decision will be seen, like, historically as the same decision as, like, them trying to prosecute Trump on, like, 34 felonies.
Magic.
I do think so. I think that the moment that you start trying to Because, like, it's one thing if you have a party like this and if you can't beat people in the free marketplace of ideas and you have to resort to, and again, keep in mind, I disagree with a lot of what the AFD is saying. I don't like the idea that people who migrate over and they're a citizen of Germany, but they came from another country. I don't agree with that they should vote, right? I mean, if they're a citizen, they should be able to vote, or at least their kids should be able to vote. I mean, I believe in that. Not true? Well, I'm just saying, like, if it's not even true, okay, all right. Here's my point. Let me just take a step back and explain my point of view. Ultimately, I think people have the right to be governed by who they choose. Whether this is a person who is a racist, homophobic, anti-democratic, who is an asshole, who is, you know, like a socialist, a communist. I think people have the right to elect who their leaders are. Fundamentally. And if you don't have, it was anti-demographic, yeah, transphobic, yeah. Well, I mean, like, we've elected a lot of people here in the U.S. that are transphobic, right? Taxation is representation before. So, at the end of the day, if you have a lot of people supporting this party, and you actively subvert their ability to support the party, then you are basically taking away their right to be represented in the government, and I don't think that usually goes very well.
We'll be out there for months and months to go.
Like, and also, like, by the way, I'm not really a huge supporter in a lot of cases of democracy in some cases either. Like, a lot of people are stupid. They are. They're dumb. But at the same time, that's still their right to have it happen. And I'll look at one more and see if there's any more information about this. But decision to pave the way for the AFD. So they're going to ban the party. Holy shit. Or they could. To be fair, they could do that.
We begin here in Germany, where the Domestic Intelligence Agency has designated the AFD an extremist organisation and a threat to democracy. The alternative for Germany finished.
It is funny for me to hear the threat to democracy thing, because, like, as an American, this is like a fucking sirens call for the last 10 years with, like, Donald Trump. And it's like, oh, okay, I've heard this one before.
February's national election, with almost 21% of the vote, making it the main opposition in the incoming parliament. The official classification doesn't mean the AFD is banned, but its activities will now be subject to even closer surveillance.
But it could make it get down, right?
Will challenge this.
Right-wing extremists with a disregard for human dignity. That's how the far-right AFD, Germany's second largest political force, is now officially classified in an 1100-page
Your powers are mine!
Also die neue Bewerbung.
The new assessment by the Domestic Intelligence Agency shows that we are a robust democracy and have legal instruments to protect our democracy against extremist threats. This includes observation and evaluation by the Domestic Intelligence Agency, as is the case here. The AFD's leadership called the decision, quote, complete nonsense.
Only
saying
60
the party
seconds
has
left.
been essentially criminalized just before the change in government. It's
Well, then, I mean, they kind of have, right? I mean, like, if they're, like, let's be real, right? I mean, if the government is giving a certain ability to, you know, like, survey and keep up with what you're doing that other countries or other parties don't have the option to do, then that's bad. The AFD, so this is, Germany just gave its spy agency new powers to survey the opposition. That's not democracy, it's appearing in disguise. What's truly extremist is not the popular AFD, which took second in the recent election, but rather the establishment's deadly open border immigration policy to get the AFD opposed. Germany should reverse course. Yeah, this is democracy. The decision is a result of a thorough and independent investigation to protect our Constitution and the rule of law. It's independent. The courts will have the final say. We've learned from our history the right-wing extremism needs to be stopped. This is from Germany. So wait a minute. So the idea of democracy is to not let people vote for certain things? Oh, I don't know about that.
Dangerous!
Yeah, I mean, I can respect the idea. Like, you think democracy is a bad idea because a lot of people are dumb and they shouldn't vote. Totally reasonable, easy to say. I agree. Yeah, sure. But don't go and say that. Don't say that you care about democracy and not do that. Yeah, we're a republic, exactly. And yeah, you can't use democracy to kill democracy? I don't know. That's the question.
Court challenge.
The AFD came second in February's general election.
Wow.
And recent polls suggest it has even gained support since then.
I think that it will continue to grow in support the more time. Basically, this is the reason why the AFD is growing in support. The AFD is growing in support. And also, by the way, if you're German and you disagree with me on this, then I'm wrong and you're right, okay? Like, this is my opinion as an American who's just looking in at this as a third party.
Overall, the autism is increasing in prevalence at an alarming rate.
Nope, that's false. And to someone who's politically pro-autism, that's actually offensive, okay?
So you don't think we should find a way to prevent autism?
Absolutely not. My side is pro-autism. We need to find ways to increase autism.
That's pretty shocking.
Thank you. But RFK is investigating the cause of autism? Like, what? An idiot. Because the official narrative is there's no cause of autism. So, like, case closed here, people. And get this, the whole damn thing is hateful. When someone has a disease and then you just haul off and try to prevent and cure that disease, you're telling people with the disease, I literally hate you. Trying to prevent a disease is bigotry. That's all I'm saying. People should want autism.
Which hero do you think you want to be today?
It shows solidarity with the community. Did it myself.
What
You
are
know,
calling a raccoon?
I like to consider myself a bit of an autistic.
But what do you think about the alarming increase in autism?
Oh, everyone's always been autistic. It's
Now, who am
it's
I gonna
not
banish from this
increasing.
match?
You gotta be scientifical here.
Yeah, here's what some of the science says about what autism rates used to be and where they are now.
0.7 children had autism in every 10,000. That's less than 1 in 10,000. Today we're at 1 in 31.
Is that actually an increase in autism?
83 times higher.
Sounds like it's 83 times higher than it used to be.
Is that even statistically significant?
Kinda, and it's even worse for boys.
There's an extreme risk for boys. Overall, the risk for boys of getting an autism diagnosis in this country is now 1 in 20.
That doesn't make sense. How can autism tell the gender of these kids when even they haven't figured it out yet?
And is high in California, which has the best data collection. So it probably also reflects the national trend, 1 in 12.5 boys.
Well, at least California has the strictest jab requirements for kids, so at least they're doing well in that unrelated area. But so what? So people have a little autism? It's a fun, quirky condition. Everyone I follow on Instagram says they're on the spectrum, and they don't even need a doctor to diagnose them. And they love the attention they get from it. Autism is actually a good social media strategy, and it makes dogs like you more.
And most cases now are severe.
Ha! Have you even seen the ladies on Love on the Spectrum? Severely hot.
I don't think that's the severity that RFK is talking about.
So about 25% of the kids who are diagnosed with autism are
30 seconds before
nonverbal,
you attack. Get
non-toilet trained, and have other stereotypical features, headbanging, tactile and light sensitivities.
RFK just trying to shrink my game. I don't like it. Have you seen my cat?
What does he look like?
He's half a cat.
We're going to look at everything. Everything is on the table. Our food system, our water, our air, different ways of parenting, all the kind of changes that may have triggered this epidemic.
I really don't want him to look in those places. I'm taking this one using only my elbows.
None of the vaccines that are given to children during the first 6 months of life were ever studied.
I especially don't want him to.
Let's say hypothetically that certain shots were found to be causing harm. Wouldn't we want people to know that so they can make an informed choice?
Absolutely not. I think of autism as a non-consensual disease. I don't think people should have the right to make a choice of whether or not to do the things to themselves that increase the prevalence of their impact. That's not how it works. I mean, trying to prevent autism has become a vicious form of right-wing extremism. And once again, there's nothing causing autism. It just happens. Kind of like obesity. there's nothing you can do about it except to face it. And besides, if there was a cause, Kennedy could never find it. You gotta be pretty spectrum-y to find hidden things. Kind of like the autistics that don't. I don't think Kennedy's autistic enough to find out autism. Yeah.
This just is. You know what I've been impressed by lately? The insane health benefits of cocoflavanols. Studies have been done that show cocoflavanols stimulate your stem cells to come out of bone marrow, just like bees coming out of a hive. And they go throughout your body and find whatever it is that needs to be repaired. Priceless. But I'm not a doctor, so don't take it from me. Here's a clip of a Harvard scientist, Dr. William Lee, explaining.
Clinical studies have been done with high flavanol cocoa to show that men who are in their 60s with heart disease, they could actually just have 2 cups of dark chocolate hot cocoa a day for a month. They double the amount of stem cells in their bloodstream, and their circulation improved immeasurably. And then what's even more important and impressive is that there was a study called the Cosmos study that was completed recently that showed that eating high flavanol cocoa decreases the risk of cardiovascular death, right, over a period of time. Like I said, exactly. Except negligent by eating the same thing that we use to make chocolate. So we're not telling people to go out to have chocolate, which is a confection, which has got a lot of sugar and all kinds of other stuff in it. But it's the stuff underlying it, the core of it.
Now, unfortunately, a lot of flavanols are destroyed in the typical chocolate making process, and that's where Black Forest supplements come with their first ever high flavanol cocoa powder. I love it. It's delicious. It's only got 20 calories. I mix it into every single protein smoothie I make, which is a lot. Unlike Hollywood elites of the Golden Globes who have been found to pay $40,000 for stem cell injections in their face, I'd rather just stimulate my body's natural stem cell production. I love it. It's delicious. My brain fog is cleared away. My energy levels are up. And I even worked out a deal with my friends at Black Forest Supplements for you. Starting now for the next 48 hours, you get 40% off the high flavanol cocoa powder from Black Forest Supplements. Just go to blackforestsupplements.com/awaken, and remember, now for 48 hours only, you get 40% off. That's blackforestsupplements.com/awaken. Enjoy.
Never miss! Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
Playing. These were quite surprising, so it turns out that two those were that people are not. A whopping 4%. They've stepped away from the game entirely. 33 are playing Cataclysm Classic. 50
and that's also like, this is people that are like voting in a WoW poll. That's a lot. Yikes, yeah.
Your powers are mine! This is real firepower!
By the time that Classic came around, interesting point WoW would play. Cata isn't a cup of tea for many players.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Like, Cataclysm to me is like not really. It's not really classic, and also I'm gonna give like maybe a casual take. It's too hard. It's like the raids are too hard. I can't just like make a raid with some guys and just go get the loot. Like it's super complex. There's a bunch of mechanics. It's not. It is. It is. It's too hard. Yeah. I mean, no pickup groups. Yeah, you can't make pickup groups. It's like too punishing. Yeah. I just get good. I already did. Like, I mean, I have all cutting edge. I have the Sinestra Immortal achievement. I just don't want to do it because it's cumbersome and punishing, and it wastes too much time. Sorry.
Classic roleplay is simple. Log in, slay some dragons with your friends, have a few beers, and score some loot. Rinse and repeat next week. Cataclysm still offers that experience, but the content isn't as casual friendly as it used to be.
Exactly, it's too hard. He's totally right. Yep, it's not casual friendly at all. This is way too hard for average players. Classic Andes are brain dead zombies. You can't expect them to move. Okay, so you can't be on the side of a Nyxia, but then you can't be behind the Nyxia, but you can't be in front. Well, where do you go? Like, I mean, because if I'm not, okay, so where would I be in the Nyxia? I've got a headache, guys. I gotta go lay down.
Also, a significant version of Classic audience also with the old school leveling zones, rich with exploration and non-linear quest lines. But with Cataclysm's revamp of Azeroth,
It's just like retail. Cataclysm is retail WoW.
By the way, guys, if you're still leveling up your character at Alts and Seasonal Discovery Era, be sure to check out the Stick Spear add-on, fastest leveling add-on that you can get
with the amazing Spider-Man!
You find the download link to that in the description.
Yeah, somebody says, get good, okay, have fun when the game is shut down because no one's playing it except for a few good players. That's the way it is for me. Like, for me, it's like if a game... If getting good in a game isn't fun, then why would I want to get good? Think about it like that. Why would I want to be good at this? It's just not fun. Like, it's annoying. And also, like, if the game isn't rewarding and it doesn't feel good to improve in, then why would I want to spend my time doing it? Because the ego is more important than fun. Yeah, like, I'm not like that at all. Like, I don't care. That's whatever. I used to be like that.
A staggering number of units, just under 500,000 logs. That's Wrath Classic level engagement.
Yeah.
At peak times, you could easily see about 300 root quests in the LG add-on on the highest population servers. But now saw it only has about half of this original population. Clearly, something is wrong. About details, but the
Sauce became retail. That's the reason why. And I got so much shit when I first heard the announcements at BlizzCon and I said this was going to happen. Everybody was shitting on me, but I was right.
Spies about retail. The current writing of the Classic product just isn't hitting the mark for most players. Since the beginning of Classic, we've had a hardcore to semi-hardcore players, much larger than people realize. These are the kind of players who won't cancel a raid night to attend their own child's piano recital. You know, the true
neckbeards. Yeah.
Depending on your server, casual guilds are definitely the minority.
Well, the reason why casual guilds are in the minority is because you can't be casual. The raids are too hard. This happened in original Cataclysm. Like, how many of you guys were in like a server in Wrath of the Lich King, and everybody was doing pugs in Wrath, and then Cata comes out, it's too hard, nobody's doing pugs anymore because the raids are too punishing.
All the difference.
Like, and that's what happened in original Classic, or original Cata, is I remember, like, I had all these pugs, and, like, we had this massive pug culture on Kel'Thuzad. Cata comes out, it's so fucking hard that we just can't do it in a pug. And then all those people that were raiding, because you've got to keep in mind, a lot of people don't have time to raid more than, like, once a week, and they can't even do that on a schedule. That's why GDKPs were great, and, like, you know, organized pugs were great. And now, if it's so hard, you just can't make any progress. Dragon Soul wasn't too bad. Yeah, but that was like way later on.
They'll be coming in 30 seconds.
It's not hard. It absolutely is hard. What are you talking about? It's not hard? Are you stupid? It's absolutely hard.
That's what Magneto says.
By checking out the server discords, and honestly, that's fine. This is exactly what Cataclysm Classic was designed to be, and it stayed true to that vision. To make Classic Cataclysm easier, it would have alienated its core audience. Over the past 4 years, Classic WoW has cultivated a more hardcore community.
No, it has not. Oh my god. This is the most not true thing that I've ever heard. And let me explain why. Because what happens is that this is what's happened with retail WoW also. Is that what ends up happening is the red line here, these are the serious hardcore players. And these are the average players. And it is true that the average players get better over time, but the rate of their improvement is extremely low. Because, for example, a new player coming into Classic WoW, for example, only has to take a couple of steps to be skilled enough to be in multiplayer. But a new player now coming into Classic Cataclysm now has to take 50 steps to be better in like heroic BWL or something like that. So what happens is that the gap between good players and average players gets wider because the average players stay the same because they're rotating around and you're always getting new players without a bunch of experience. And the hardcore players keep getting better because they keep playing the game more. So whenever you start designing for this group of people, you get retail WoW. And when you design for this group of people, you have classic WoW. And that's what the difference is. So yes, you're right that there's a lot of people that like talking about how they like hard fights in Classic, but there's not a surprise to me, it's not a surprise to me at all, that the reason why Hardcore WoW and the time that Hardcore WoW started popping off was whenever Old War came out. I don't think that was a coincidence, guys. I just don't. Sorry. I think there's a very good reason for that. It's not about difficulty, it's also about time investment. Exactly. Yeah, you could run max and it takes 2 hours at the most, right? For most like really good guilds. If you're running BWL on all those raids, it probably takes longer. Overlord's peak of our rating. Yeah, but it also causes you to quit. You should explain wealth inequality? Well, there are a lot of differences. Like, this graph explains a lot of human, like, deviations, right? It explains a lot of it. So that's the reason why. So the idea that they should keep making the game harder to appeal to people that keep getting better, the only thing that does is it makes it harder for new players to become those players. And you see that with Classic Era.
That's better.
You will always find, like, hardcore players will always find ways to make games more challenging on their own. Like, you know, speedrunning, for example. Like in Classic WoW, it wasn't about clearing the raid, it's about clearing the raid quickly.
This is real
Some people just don't even want to reach it, and then they quit. So 4 equals dumb? Yes.
The game has been too easy for a lot of players.
It's not.
You just have to.
Those are just the outspoken, loud players on social media that should be representative of 1% of the population, 10% at the absolute most. You should absolutely never design for them. The reason why Elden Ring is such a brilliant game is the fact that they had 7, 6, 5, I don't know how many other games that they had made before then. Bloodborne, Sekiro, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. They could have designed Elden Ring to be the pinnacle of an accomplishment and made every boss as hard as Mourinho. They didn't, and they made it accessible because they knew that that's what the audience wanted, because they understand what people really want. That's Classic WoW too. Yeah, Armored Core, also an easy game. Yes, tutorial game for Souls, exactly. Yeah, that's not the way it works. Never appeal, never, ever, ever listen to the hyper-hardcore audience in games, because if you do, you will kill your game.
But there's still a significant portion of classic level.
They don't know what they want.
Experience. See Temple, which had an end boss more difficult to kill than Donald Trump.
Well, that's another example, right? Is that the first time that they added a hard boss into WoW, people stopped raiding. People don't want to raid, they don't want to do hard bosses. Like, they're not playing Classic WoW to be challenged. They're playing Classic WoW to get cool gear and to work towards a goal. This whole idea that, like, you have these, like, super sweaty hardcore players that are trying to make WoW some sort of, like, esport, it's so exhausting.
This is real
just stop it. Just play. Like, if you want to be, if you want to play an esport, play Valorant. But these people, I'm gonna be honest, they're garbage. They'd never be able to handle it in a real competitive game. So they play an MMO instead. You think a lot of these, like, rank 1 players in, like, these other games can go and play Valorant or League of Legends at a challenger level? Absolutely not. They'll never be that good. That's just the truth.
Wow, it doesn't have that same
big L take. It's not an L take at all. It's true. You want to know why I know it's true? I'll explain exactly why it's true. Thanks. Because if they could, they would. You really think that WoW players, these, like, super serious WoW players, want to sit there and stream to, like, 100 people, making barely any money, trying to sell account sharing services on the side? Do you think that if they could, they would just go over and play League of Legends and make hundreds of thousands of dollars? You really think that they would do that? They wouldn't do that? Come on, think about it. It's because they can't. That's the reason. They can't. They can't compete in a real competitive game. So they have to take casual games and make them competitive and ruin the game in the process. They're not good enough. Yeah.
The reason is to be worth explaining that Silver was meant to be very experimental. Some things were great and other things no. And only some friends gave Blizzard a pass on this one. It's important to try new features.
By the eye of
Plus, because game probably did your team major disappointment.
Sure, yeah.
It has to be perfect because realistically it is the future of Classic WoW.
Yeah, it is.
Barrier Classic, that's not the future. It's exactly what the most of the Classic audiences really want. But some of the features they've added to Season Discovery will be standards, like a take.
Exactly. Somebody says there's a difference about the PvP and Raiders. You guys must have forgot when, how many of you guys have seen people that were, like, WoW players? And this happened a lot in MOBAs. Is that a lot of WoW players tried to move over and play MOBAs and stream MOBAs. And these were, like, rank 1 players. But they weren't good enough. They just simply weren't good enough.
Goodbye.
And so nobody watched them.
Armor patch here.
That's it. They tried, and they weren't good enough. Point and click or boring? Yeah, that's it. Like who? Oh, I'm not going to name names. Yeah, these people, they did try to play us.
Never miss.
That member trying to start a solo career in the name of his Nightmare incursions, overcomplicating classes with too many abilities, and making a raid excessively difficult. These were brainwave designs that can only be exposed to developers who really don't get Classic WoW.
He's right about this. Yeah, a lot of the decisions for Classic WoW have been bad.
Hopefully, after losing subscribers, they finally learned that lesson. Well, this is what concerns me about the Classic devs. Do they truly understand Classic WoW? Do they play enough to understand what players want? Are they familiar with other old-school MMOs and why their communities remain loyal even when their games are so different from modern MMOs like Retail WoW? Do they get why Retail WoW isn't growing, hasn't for years, and probably never will? Can they trust
Yeah, the game it's played out. I think that really Blizzard doesn't understand that friction inside of Classic WoW makes it Classic WoW. And they think that they're improving the game by removing the friction, when the friction is what made it special to begin with.
Cool MMO vibe. Honestly, I think before MMO dev team, they should have to improve it.
Yeah, it's the same as like, yeah, they put difficulty levels into multiplayer. Like, I really like the Classic WoW team. I think that they do a good job communicating with the community. But I do think that they fundamentally misunderstand some of the main principles of Classic WoW and why it's popular. I think that they don't really get it, even though they are probably... the Classic WoW team is better than it ever has been, but it's not good enough to iterate on Classic WoW in a way that is an improvement.
At least 10 days playtime on their account in Classic.
Right
That
here
should be
could make
minimum
all the
requirement.
difference.
It's painfully clear that some members of the Classic WoW dev team are just going through the motions, with very little passion or interest in Classic.
I disagree with that. I actually think that Agrand and that woman, I think her name is Nora, and a lot of the Classic WoW team, I find them to be tremendously passionate about the game. I actually don't think that they're just showing up to work at all. Like, nobody tells Agrand he has to write manifestos about the fucking game on, like, Twitter. Nobody says that. So, I don't think it's that they're not passionate. I think it's that they're listening to the wrong kinds of feedback, and they're not valuing the right types of feedback. That's the problem.
Features introduced in Seasonal Discovery make it obvious that whoever is calling the shots is completely out of touch with what the Classic WoW audience actually wants.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is the harsh reality of game development. When a new studio is trying to make a name for itself, they're driven by determination and passion, but once a company has been established for a few years, that fire often fades. Every game developer seems to have their turn. Blizzard with Breath of the Lich King, Bethesda with Skyrim, CD Projekt Red with The Witcher 3. Evan is
Project, no. Like, look at Rockstar. Look at From Software. Look at Capcom. Look at, what do you call it? Look at Riot. No, there's a lot of, like and also, like, Cyberpunk is insane. It had a bad release, yeah. But the expansion was insane.
Just all downhill from that. and bringing in new talent will necessarily fix this, because the current climate of the video game industry is one where people are more likely to leave it than to join it.
Yeah, no, he's right about that. Now, I will say that Cyberpunk is good. In my opinion, I played part of The Witcher, and I played part of Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is way better. I think it is. Maybe I didn't get far enough into The Witcher, but that's what my opinion is right now.
When you consider the future of Classic Rust is in the hands of Blizzard and the current Classic WoW dev team, it's hard to not feel uneasy about it. Especially given that Activision Blizzard, Microsoft, or whatever the hell this corporate monstrosity is unionized. Now, I'm not against unions. Blizzard is probably the perfect example of the kind of
Yeah.
Downside is that the fact that
This is real firepower!
I would agree with you if that wasn't already happening.
Your powers are mine!
I think that's been happening for too long. Yeah, this has been going on for a while.
A lot of Classic players are now left with nothing to play, and let's not forget that Cyber Discovery is just getting started and still has to go through every single phase of raid releases at anything. It doesn't take at least a year.
Yeah, sure.
What are Classic players supposed to do for a whole year without a solid MMO to dive into? Sure, people will always come back to WoW, but Blizzard risks losing chunks of their subscriber base to other
Look at this guy. This is the average Classic player. You might not have noticed this because you're maybe not like a serious WoW player, but after he did Concussive Blow, he backpedaled away in order to bandage.
Blizzard risks losing chunks.
See that? That's your average player. That's it.
Subscriber base to other MMOs in the meantime. For now, many Classic players might have to accept their fate as an MMO refugee. I've already met plenty of people in other MMOs who admit they're WoW refugees. Maybe there's a silver lining. Perhaps some players will discover an MMO they end up liking more than WoW, but the truth is, if Blizzard want Classic WoW to return to its former glory, they need to take some serious action, and fast. But anyway, guys, my name is MetaGoblin. Until the
30
next
seconds
video,
before you attack.
ciao.
Get ready.
I think Season of Discovery is cooked. I do. I think that they've made too many changes that are too transformative, and it will, like, I want to do the raids, but like, to me, the fact that they added difficulty levels to the raids, I am out. I have no intention really of raiding in difficulty
Battle
levels.
starts in 5, 4,
I think they're
3,
silly.
2, 1.
It's just it's ridiculous. Like that to me is like not classic WoW. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, it's like classics turning into retail. Yeah, I guess so. It's not really difficulty levels. It's just one. If Heat 1 is just story mode. No, it's a difficulty level because you can go in there and the difficulty is different for each level. That makes it a difficulty level. No, just stop it. I don't care what your reasoning is. I just don't. It's immersion breaking. Yeah, it's ridiculous. People get the same gear. It doesn't matter. I don't want to deal with it. No, that's not classic WoW. It's not real. And maybe I'm being a classic Andy for this. But like that's what I think. Yeah, we don't want to run multiple versions. Yeah, I don't. Like I just it's not for me, man. Not for me. Classic Andy. Well, hey, I mean, hey. I'm sorry. I'm a classic Andy, and I want classic to be like like it's for me. Oh, oops. Oh wow. Yeah, they're making it for classic Andys. That's the whole fucking point. Oh, you're not making Season of Discovery for classic Andys. What the fuck are you making it for?
This is real firepower!
So since I made my video about the Dark Ghost and WoW, a number of people have come forward with even more shocking information than I made in my original video.
Armed and dangerous!
This rabbit hole goes much deeper than you think. We've barely scratched the surface of just how disgusting the MMO is.
Oh, look at that. It's a bunch of completely legitimate players.
I've been
bunch of Lost Ark players.
Interview a long-term role farmer and someone in business for 10 years and has a very eye-opening perspective on the industry with a lot of insider information. 2, a gold-selling website themselves agreed to do a written interview, meaning they didn't get on voice, they got the right answers to my questions. and this has provided a keen insight into how websites and the kingpins of the industry enact their enterprise. On top of all this, some of the biggest GDKP group leaders have come forth to reveal.
I could just PayPal you guys with what I buy, add and remove gold from the equation completely, to be honest, because all I do is swipe card, buy gold, but items.
Even more shocking truths from what I researched in my original video.
I get a fair amount of big buyers that ask me that. Yeah, I bet they do. Used to charge people IRL money just for a spot.
Pots are even bigger than what I thought, and it's gotten to a point where people are just PayPaling real money to GDKP leaders instead of sending gold, because gold in the game has become so worthless and deflated. But for now, grab a beer and some popcorn, because it's time to fully reveal the inside life of a gold seller. The most interesting part of interviewing a gold seller was learning about how the hustle has evolved over time. Red Mage, who agreed to do the interview with me, started gold selling in the original Burning Crusade expansion.
Jesus, bro, this guy's been doing it for 15 fucking years.
Originally, he had a fairly basic factory job. He also inherited a cat from somebody who was too ill to look after the cat, and the cat itself had a number of health issues. I swear, this is relevant because he had to pay for large vet bills for the cat.
So you're saying that he farmed gold and sold it to pay for the cat?
So he decided to turn to farming gold on his paladin and then selling it for real money to cover the costs.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's basically how I got my start.
Which hero do you think you want to be
Recently,
today?
a remaster of one of my favorite video games ever came out.
you calling
I'm of
a
course
raccoon,
talking
huh?
about Oblivion Remastered. It was officially announced basically the same exact time it was released, which is motherfucking epic if you ask me. Now, after having played a bit of the remaster, here is my take.
The Yakuza are dying. Gen Zs are killing them. Now that sounds like a crazy thing to say. The Yakuza are, after all, one of the most infamous organized crime groups in the world. So how are they being killed by a bunch of phone-scrolling, TikTok dancing kids, most of whom have the attention span of a fish, and some haven't even finished high school? Well, I wouldn't say the Gen Zs are intentionally killing the Yakuza. They are sort of doing it by accident, though, at a time when the Yakuza are already weak. So this isn't first-degree murder, but more like manslaughter. The Yakuza's decline is evident from the numbers. At its height in the 1960s, the Yakuza had more than 180,000 members. That number is down to less than 20,000 at this point, and trending down still. But to explain how this happened, and what Gen Zs have anything to do with it, I need to reference the legal and historical context that led up to this. The Yakuza are Japan's most well-known organized crime syndicates, similar in function to the Italian mafia or the Mexican cartels, but with their own distinct cultural and operational differences. For example, the Yakuza have operated openly for much of their existence. They register businesses, maintain offices, and publish contact information. Many Yakuza members even carry business cards. They've also had a mixed reputation in Japan. To some, they seem like chivalrous outlaws, groups that, at least on the surface, protected the weak, upheld local order, and lived by strict moral codes. They even have a history of helping out their community at times of crisis, like how they helped to deliver supplies and with other disaster relief efforts during the 2011 earthquake and tsunami. This is probably why Japanese societies have partly tolerated their open operation for some time, but there is no denying that they do break the laws. Depending on the Yakuza groups, they may profit from extortion and loan sharking, to scams and political corruptions, to drugs and human trafficking, to even assault and murder. And as such, the Japanese government has steadily increased its crackdown on the Yakuza since the 1990s, passing laws such as the 1992 Anti-Boryokudan law and intensifying their enforcement over time. Fast forward to today, most businesses are now forbidden. from working with Yakuza altogether. This has not only dried up many of Yakuza's revenue streams, but also made life practically difficult for Yakuza members, since they are blacklisted from businesses. For example, it is nearly impossible for Yakuza members to do simple things like opening bank accounts, renting apartments, or even getting phone plans. These legal crackdowns have significantly weakened the Yakuza, but it's not the only reason behind their decline. Along with this intensification of legal pressure is a shift in the economy of crime. If we look at the Yakuza from a business perspective, one of their long-standing competitive advantages has been violence. Now, in a stereotypical society, only the government has legal access to violence, and it presumably uses it for things like maintaining order, protecting borders, and so on. Other members of society typically don't have access to violence. Businesses, for instance, can compete in all sorts of ways. Better products, cheaper services, clever marketing, but they can't physically attack each other. They can't use violence, but the Yakuza can, and that allows them access to business models and markets that normal business don't. They can go into things like illegal gambling and prostitutions and loan sharking and other black markets because they can use physical force. That has its own risks, of course, but all things considered, having access to violence has traditionally been quite profitable for the Yakuza. But the world has changed. We've now entered the digital age and what's called the knowledge-based economy. The most valuable assets today aren't physical, rather they are intangible, like information, ideas, patent, data, attention, and code. This shift has a profound effect on the economic value of violence, because violence can arrange outcomes, but not this. And as such, it has virtually no direct effect in the digital realm. And as it happens, the types of crimes that are most profitable in the digital economies are increasingly virtual rather than physical. Back in the day, you used to be able to punch people in the face and take their wallets, and that used to be profitable. But if you do that today, you'll probably just get a bunch of credit cards that will be locked the moment they are reported missing, and maybe a phone that you can't use without Face ID. Crimes like phishing scams, crypto fraud, online identity theft, ransomware attacks are becoming more profitable than robbing people at gunpoint. Hacking into a bank, for example, is more profitable now than robbing the bank, because the most valuable things are now stored in the bank's servers rather than its vaults. And in this new economy, violence doesn't scale very well, and it loses its edge by the days as the world continues to digitize. So in many ways, the Yakuza has been playing catch-up with the time to either scale their existing digital operations or venture into new ones. However, it's not an easy pivot for an organization built on physical violence to start relying on business models of crime where violence isn't as much of a lever. So it's fair to say that the Yakuza are on the ropes. The law is squeezing them out of society, and the economy has shifted from under their feet. They should have their hands full at this point, but there's one more problem. The Gen Zs. This is unexpected perhaps, but consequential nonetheless. In fact, Gen Zs could very well be the one to put the final nail in their coffin. The problem with Gen Zs is regarding recruitment, because for the life of them, the Yakuza can't seem to figure out a way to get this next generation of young criminals to join them. This is not just a PR issue, it's an existential threat, because for any criminal organization to survive, it needs young people who are the muscles that do the dirty work in the short term and carry out the legacy in the long term. But that's not happening right now. So much so that the Yakuza are in the process of aging into extinction. More than half of the Yakuza are older than 50 years old at this point, with an average age of 54 as of 2023. And only about 5.4% of Yakuza members are currently in their 20s. Now, there are reasons why people in general are less interested in joining the Yakuza today, based on what we've discussed so far. For example, we mentioned that the Yakuza are heavily targeted by the government. To join the Yakuza is to be subjected to the same fate, and it's understandable why people don't want that. We also mentioned the dwindling value of violence in the digital economy of crimes. Therefore, there's less appeal to join the Yakuza in order to get access to violence, because violence is not that necessary to commit digital crime. But these reasons apply to everyone. There is a reason, however, that's uniquely relevant to Gen Z's disinterest in joining the Yakuza, and that has to do with culture. Japanese Gen Zs, like those of most parts of the developed world, are digital natives. They're very much used to having information and digital extensions of themselves online that are instantly accessible through the devices in their pockets. Most of them probably got their Instagram accounts before their driver's license. And as such, one can say that they are raised partly by the Japanese cultural environment, but also partly by the internet. As a result, they are a little different from their older generational counterparts. For example, they are more individualistic and value autonomy and flexibility. This marks a clear contrast with traditional aspects of Japanese culture that are more collectivistic and value group harmony, social cohesion, and established social norm. This contrast creates a generational tension that's observable across many aspects of Japanese society, but it's especially pronounced in the world of crime. This is because the Yakuza is deeply rooted in traditional Japanese culture. It is collectivistic, where each member is expected to have absolute loyalty to the group and put the well-being of the Yakuza organization above their own. It also has a strict hierarchy and expects total obedience to superiors and suppresses individuality. But that's an environment that Gen Zs find suffocating. This includes the Gen Z's criminals. These young criminals want to assert their individuality. They want to express themselves and their opinions, but they can't do that if they join the Yakuza. Many of them are also more entrepreneurial and want the freedom to experiment and make mistakes and learn from them. But the Yakuza demands perfection and hates mistakes. There's even a ritual called Yubitsume, where you cut off your fingers as an apology for making serious mistakes. Gen Zs probably like their fingers as much as anyone, so they're not super stoked about that. And above all, Gen Z criminals want to commit crimes, and they want to do it right away. In the Yakuza, new members are typically required to endure long periods of low-status apprenticeships, during which they perform mostly menial tasks. So if Gen Zs join the Yakuza, they'll probably be bowing 20 times a day and serving tea for years before they can begin to contribute to real criminal projects in any significant ways. For a generation that are used to instant gratification, this is probably too long of a wait for their attention span to handle. Additionally, unlike the Yakuza who have to play catch-up with the digital economy, Gen Zs are born into it. What feels foreign to the Yakuza feels just like home to the Gen Zs. So instead of joining the Yakuza and help them catch up, Gen Zs probably prefers the faster route of just doing it themselves. They're thinking, why would I need the Yakuza? I have a smartphone and I've got Wi-Fi at home. The ChatGPT subscription is only $20 and DeepSeek is free. If I want to commit digital crimes, I'd rather do it with my college roommates than with these old people who just want to cut all my fingers every time my code doesn't work. Now, it's not like Gen Z criminals all operate alone. They still commit organized crimes, but the way they organize is completely different. There's a new term coined by Japan's national police agency called tokuryu. It describes a new kind of organized criminal phenomenon that started happening in the last few years. It consists mostly of young people and seems to be feeling the power vacuum left behind by the declining Yakuza. The word tokuryu combines tokume, which means anonymous, and ryudo, which means fluid. And that name is quite fitting. The tokuryu groups have no rigid hierarchy, no lifelong loyalty, no rituals. Many of their members don't even know each other. Instead, they're recruited for specific jobs or tasks on an ad hoc basis, almost like gig economy before crime. Tokuryu recruit mostly online and operate through encrypted messaging apps and social media platforms. This allows a degree of flexibility in their structure and some anonymity for their members that make them quite elusive to law enforcement. And it's easy to see why Gen Z criminals prefer the tokuryu over the Yakuza. In fact, tokuryu's recruitment pitch is so on brand for the Gen Z stereotype that it almost looks like a parody. No rules, no commitment, no delayed gratification. It just sign up online, show up, do the thing, get paid, and fuck off. It's almost like you can just Uber Eat, Tinder swipe, and TikTok scroll your way through a career in crime. Now, in case this is starting to sound like a good side hustle at this point, I should say, please don't go join the tokuryu, because, well, it's illegal, first of all, and secondly, that's kind of the whole trick. Tokuryu uses this curated messaging around quick cash and low commitment as a bait to recruit new members, sometimes specifically targeting unsuspecting youth who are looking for a